Hi there and welcome to the Treehouse. My name's Ree and this is the tarot tree, and today I thought I'd just do a little haul. We had Christmas and just gathering up my my gifts, I realised I actually got quite a lot of decks, so I thought why not share my first thoughts on them and see if any of you guys have had fun with these ones too, or if I can introduce you to some new ones that I really have a lot of praise for. So this is tarot deck the haul. Gotta have a pun in there. You'll notice as we go on that I am a big lover of wordplay, so strap yourself in and hopefully that's not too cringy for you. But yeah, we're getting quite deep into January now, so I thought I should really do that because the Christmas vibes are kind of over really and truthfully, but we've got the holly out, so why not. So I think I'm going to crack on first with the decks, and then I'll just throw a few miscellaneous things in there, just to spice it up a bit, and let's see how we go. So first and foremost, I have the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle deck. This is actually a gift from my baby brother. I had seen this is by Amanda Lovelace, a poet, I believe. She's definitely got some books that are quite interesting. I think something like the princess saves herself in this one or something. And I kept seeing this and I really loved the artwork first and foremost. And I saw it on a few tarot readers channels as well, and I liked the messages, like the book. They're to the point messages, but they're good. When you want to do a one card pull, I found this deck to be really good. But like I said, it's the artwork is just, you'll see, it's phenomenal. And it's got such beautiful imagery, and it's such a mix of light and dark. Tree, let them go. I pulled this one actually when I really needed to hear that message. It was quite hard hitting. I love the femininity within this deck because I want to really work with that more so this year for myself. Look at her, she's so beautiful. I love the representation within this deck. We have figures that are old, young, all different shapes, sizes, orientation. Villain, you can always rewrite the story. I love the keywords. It's very dreamy, like the colour palette, and I like that a lot. I think some of these actually might be based on her, based on what I know her to look like. And yeah, obviously I've only had it since Christmas, but I have found it really good for one card pulls, especially when I'm a bit in the thick of it, because it can either call you out or give you a nice warm hug, and I like that about it. And even when it's calling you out, it's doing it in a good way, like like your girl mates like giving you the pep talk, something like that. It definitely has that divine feminine energy about it, and I really appreciate that. As I said, that's something I want to work with this year. Definitely goddess energy, healing that divine feminine energy, that mother wound and all of that. That's what I'm into for this year. So let's why not have decks that are really going to help us with that, and I really think this will play its part. So yeah, that is the Believe in Your Own Magic, all for that empowerment. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you haven't got it already. The cards are quite big, but I've got really baby hands, so sometimes the shuffling can be a bit tricky. You can see it's a bit of a stretch for me, but I think that's sort of, it's okay. Like when it's like a one card pull, I think that makes me sit down and actually pay attention to the deck a bit more. So I'm not angry with that. Could that make the change? So modern as well, like cutting your hair off. That's great, man. It's a great deck. So yeah, Believe in Your Own Magic. That's what we've got first up. Next up, we're going to stick with Oracle decks. Why not? I guess we have two offerings, both from Caroline Miss, and she's someone whose work I'm really enjoying right now. I actually have a few of her books on the way also. First up, we have the Wisdom for Healing cards, and I've made quite good use out of these already. I find them very good for one card pulls. I kind of take one and set it up on my card stand and like altar for the week, so it could be my reminder of the week when I'm, to be honest, I don't know. Ooh, the display's going all over the gaff. I don't know how you guys have been finding January. I've been finding it a bit tricky, I can't lie. I do find this time of year a bit hard sometimes, a bit dark. A lot of things come up, so a healing deck is definitely something that I felt that I needed. Yeah, oh, speaking of which, there is one card here that I find a bit problematic, and this is the one. Visualize a healthy body and mind. I don't know why, I just felt like the person visualizing themselves as slimmer. That's how I'm viewing that. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about that card, to be honest with you, but maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. Other than that, I have to say I do love the deck. I do love the imagery. I do love the it has like lessons on the back, so it is really good for one card pulls. You know, when you ask something or you just want some guidance for the week, it's right here in front of you, today's lesson and your goal. And I like that, it's sort of making it something quite practical and pragmatic to kind of enforce, even though it's got a lot of feminine energy. Again, I would say this deck, it's like a call to action, and I think that's really cool, especially when trying to heal, because I think when we're in dark places in particular, we can get very caught in our minds, and you go down this sort of slippery slope of thought, and you know, life can't be lived out in the mind. You have to, you know, sometimes need a bit of a knee jerk out of it, you know, or a warm hug to help you. This deck does both. Transform worrisome thoughts, identify change. So yeah, I'm on a healing journey. I'm on a chronic health kind of healing journey also, as well as, I would say, really trying to work on my mental health this year also. So I just really like this. The imagery reminds me of sort of, I'm a 90s kid, so it kind of reminds me of the storybooks I grew up with a bit, which is probably why there's a bit of nostalgia to this, which I like, and why I also find it good for healing things to do with the inner child and things like that. But yeah, Carolyn Miss, I do like her work, I have to admit. I like what she has to say on the back of these cards. Let me try and read one. What's this? Become better. Discover one thing that would make you better and more empowered at what you do and who you are, and make it a part of your routine. If this is difficult, identify why becoming better is something you wouldn't want to do. Your goal, to recognize how and why you sabotage your empowerment. It's basically like mindfulness and therapy, really. And for some of us that don't have access to that therapy, like good therapy right now, in for whatever reason, because of, you know, everything that's going on, or financial kind of limitations, etc., it's really good to have these tools to kind of help with our own healing. There's it's her name, if I remember her, I shall put her in the link below. There is a great page, like a psychologist, holistic psychologist on Instagram, who I find really helpful for that. She also has a page called like Self Healers, I think. I'll definitely try and remember her name and put it down below. But Carolyn Miss, her work really fits in with that, I feel. And speaking of the next deck, I also, these are both gifts, by the way. I was really chuffed. Like, I guess I told people a few things I was interested in, and they really like came through for me. So I'm really grateful. But this is the Archetype cards. You know, these are a classic. God, it is a chunky little deck though. I haven't really mucked about with these too much yet, but I find it fascinating, because I find the concept of archetypes very fascinating, especially when you're doing inner work, when you're doing shadow work particularly, because I love how these have both attributes. They're really good for readings for self. Definitely that sort of psychology element that I'm interested in, that Jungian kind of, I really want to dive a bit more into his work this year also. I find him a fascinating person. But I just find the cards really, really cool. They're just, you know, they're giving you all the aspects of these archetypes, and you can really pull them and really do a deep dive into your own kind of personality, or the things you struggle with, your dark sides, especially when looking at the shadow. Sometimes the shadow can be quite difficult for us to look at. You know, we spend a lifetime probably trying to run away from it, you know, and not integrating it and accepting it, hence why we have to do that sort of shadow work. But this really does help shine a light, and I think where you have the light and shadow attributes put together, it helps you form a connection between the two, and also it helps you forgive it a bit more, because you're seeing, okay, but this is the light attribute, and you know, this is when it might have gone a bit over a little bit. You can kind of see maybe what kind of things triggered it off in your life. Also just help you have a bit more compassion for yourself, that is, you know, there's always a double-sided coin, you know, there's a flip side. And it's not all bad if we can integrate that shadow and understand where it comes from and why it was formed. It helps us move more authentically in the world with that acceptance. And it can be a hard place to get to, but I think it's worthwhile, and it's definitely something I really want to do work on. And you know, my tarot cards keep telling me to do work on it, and all other sort of synchronicities have been telling me for a long time to kind of look at that shadow aspect. And I just thought this card would be, these cards in particular would be really, really helpful within that. It's a massive deck. Look at it. There's just so much to dive into here. You can pick out specific cards for like child healing. I'm sure there's like a few that child orphan, etc. There's a few different ones with the inner child like rune. So that's really cool, so you can really tailor it to your own needs, and I like that. It's also really good when you're kind of doing reads based on others as well, seeing personality types of people around you, etc., if you're into doing those kind of reads. So yeah, it's versatile and it's very workable, and it's just very interesting. I really look forward to diving a bit deeper into it, and then I'll let you know my thoughts after that. So I don't know why this reminds me of the Little Prince. The little boy orphan, light attributes, independence based on learning to go it alone, conquering fear of surviving. Wow, that really does have that Little Prince vibe to it then. Shadow attributes, feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate family. Well, I think this might apply to me. I think that might be something I need to look into, but yeah, that is Caroline Miss's Archetype cards. If you're not familiar with them, maybe give them a go, especially if you're looking to do some kind of deep diving into your healing your shadow potentially. So yeah, that's the Archetype cards. Wow, I just feel like I pressed all the air out of it there. Okay. Next up, we have an offering, a little baby mini offering that I bought myself actually. This is Floral Healing. I'm really interested. Well, this is called the Tarot Tree. As you can see, I have quite an affinity with nature and trees and plant life, I should say. I've done work in that field. But I'm really interested in flower language and the healing aspects of botanicals, really and truthfully, in terms of like tinctures, supplement forms. Are something I kind of want to learn and have been learning on my healing journey, as well as just to know the language of flowers. That's something I'm really interested in, and I kind of have got a few decks I have my eye on to kind of help me with that. That's sort of the two things I really want to, three things I guess I want to do with my decks, if that makes sense. So it would be like a lot of inner child healing, shadow work, flower language, and the kind of healing aspects of botanicals, and also the third would be looking at a lot of the divine feminine energy, so goddess work. They're the sort of three things I'm quite interested in this year. We'll see how we'll go with that. So yeah, this kind of ties in with that. I saw it. This is the baby deck. I did kind of want the bigger one, but it's a bit hard to get my hands on. I thought even if I was to get the bigger one at a later date, that's cool. I have this little baby one I can take around with me. So it's basically just really beautiful. You have the plant life and the flower image on the front, and then at the back you have a little kind of you have the name calendula, and you have a little phrase, so this is unity, and then a passage kind of telling you, some sort of prompts for exploration, telling you a little bit about its healing properties, and maybe, if you draw this card, what it is you want to look at into. It's funny because this is the card that keeps coming up for me, calendula, and this is actually something I've been given by naturopaths as I have a skin issue, So that's interesting, even like topically. So it says, Calendula officialis offers us the gift of healing through unity. Its flower head is composed of many small flowers called florets that lend to the beauty of the whole. Just like calendula's inflorescence, we must tend to each aspect of ourselves. We discover strength through unity, and with strength we can release pain. With a newfound state of oneness, inner peace is close at hand. What personal strengths do you possess to release pain and unite your spirit? Wow. So I don't know if you can see that. It's basically it's providing you knowledge about that plant in particular, and also that sort of spiritual element of it and how it can help. And it's giving you prompts. So it's, you know what, this deck is relatively new to me, so I haven't worked with it too much, but I have been pulling like a few cards a day when I've been feeling quite rough, and I found them quite moving, to be honest with you, because they're very poignant and they seem to fit what I'm asking. So I'm definitely already a bit bonded with this deck, which I'm really grateful for. But like I said, you get prompts at the, you know, with these little questions. You know, if you're into journaling, and I would like to get more into journaling this year, I think this could be really cool, like something to do, you know, while simultaneously learning more about botanicals. You know, that's something I always found a lot of interest in. I did a lot of work within permaculture and garden design and that nature at one point before my health kind of dipped. So, you know, I have an affinity for it, and I just thought, what a great deck to kind of bring into my sort of healing journey, whilst also, you know, helping me learn. I love learning new things, and it's beautiful to learn these things about nature we have around us, right? Immunity. Interesting. Shantara. I'm butchering the names, but yeah. What is this message about immunity? Okay. Shantaras offers a powerful message of immunity. When insult occurs, we instinctively mobilize our resources to fight disease. This response is positive on most accounts. However, like any system or belief, we can lean too far in one direction. Sometimes our immune system mistakes our own body as an enemy and attacks itself. This is self-defeating and causes disharmony. What behaviors or actions do you undertake that cause dis-ease in your... This is a very poignant one for me, who is actually under kind of an autoimmune umbrella, or at least being looked into. So I don't know why I feel a bit emotional drawing this card, but I think it's very interesting to kind of see the sort of physical and the spiritual and the emotional and mental kind of aspects that lead to illness, should I say. So wow, that's a very powerful card to read. What behaviors are you undertaking that cause dis-ease? And I really love when people split that word disease into dis-ease, because that is what it is. What an interesting flower. So yeah, it's such a cute little deck. I'm actually quite glad I got the mini version, because I think it would be something good to take around with me, like especially if I'm out and about and I might be feeling a bit overwhelmed, or I want to do a bit of journaling out in nature. I'll have it with me. So it's beautiful, like the imagery, so simple, you know, these watercolors, but so beautiful at the same time. And I think it goes really well with some other decks that I have. Maybe I'll show some marryings of decks in future videos actually, and see what you guys think. I think it would go well with the Blood Moon Tarot. I think it's going to go well with the Lord of the Rings Tarot I have, like all those sort of, like, you know, I can imagine if you have the Wildwood Tarot, anyone's of that Druid craft, things like that. I think it would look really good with them, and I think it will provide really poignant messages. So give it a go. That's the Floral Healing mini deck by what are they called? Avec la Vie. And she's a French-Canadian creator. So if you're in America and Canada, I'm sure you can get hold of these quite easily. And in the UK, it's a bit more tricky. But the Boutique actually has these. I also got, they have the Fantastic, what is it called? Fantastic Beings is the other one. And they have an animal deck as well. They all have different kind of headings. So the floral one's healing. I think the animal one is like kind of action or something like that, and the fantastic kind of I keep wanting to say that that J.K. Rowling thing, fantastic beings or something, but I don't think that is what it is. And that's about manifestation. So they each have a role. You can buy 3 of the decks. They're really beautiful to have on display too. So yeah, that's that one. Next up, we have probably my favorite deck, fast become my favorite deck in my collection, the most poignant deck, the deck I feel I've bonded with the quickest and the most. It's just been a joy, an absolute joy, and this is the Poesis Oracle. Now as soon as I saw this, I was very drawn to it, and you'll see why, and I'll tell you why on a personal level for me too. I am a poet. This is an oracle that is linked to poetry. I find a lot of solace in poetry, both writing and reading it. If someone's work resonates with me, I find this the place I express myself the most honestly and authentically. I find it interesting whenever I go back and read over poems from, you know, a certain time. I realize, oh wow, I was giving myself all the answers you know, before I was willing to accept them. I find that very profound within my own work. That, you know, I think to myself, why didn't you listen to your poetry early on? But I feel like maybe there's some sort of channeling that goes on for me. It's a bit of a spiritual thing, like when I write, and also you know, it's a great way to express and kind of get things off your chest. I'm someone that, you know, has a lot of pent up emotion, sometimes struggles to express that. So, you know, any kind of outlet we have, I think, is a beautiful thing. And so this right off the bat just spoke to me. I was like, oh, a poetry oracle, that sounds right up my street. And then we want to mix in monochromatic artwork, something like symbolic artwork, and almost like, I'll try and describe it to you, like Jungian. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when you see books that like have to do with psychology, and they have like those figures, like, you know, you got them like wooden figures that people learn to draw anatomy from. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying. We haven't even got to a card that's really illustrating this yet, but yeah, that's the vibe it gives me. And I also work in monochromatic art to kind of go along with my poetry too, so that was like, wow, okay. And having worked with this, I think this has set the bar. If I were ever to make an oracle myself, I'd be like, this is absolutely fantastic. This is the cornerstone. Fair, I've not even seen this card. As the moment I got it, I've been working with it ever since, like, and from the get-go, oh my god, the bond, the sass, the nurturing, the calling out, but in a nurturing way. There is a feminine energy to this deck that I like. It's like a sassy friend, like with a mothering energy is how I describe it. It keeps giving me the same cards, you know, and I have to insert, I had such a funny encounter with this deck early on, and I had to film it, so I have to insert that, where I basically was asking a certain question. It gave me a card that just completely synchronized with that question, and then I said, oh, so you're listening, and then it showed me the listening card, and I found that so funny. It was like saying, yeah, I'm listening. But just look at the artwork, and that's just the surface level. Okay, there's enough to go on with your intuition here, and, you know, with the artwork and the keywords, but when you dive into the poetry, oh my, it is breathtaking. I can't tell you how poignant those poems are. And, you know, sometimes I was worried, maybe the poetry's not going to resonate with me, you know. So I'm one of those ones, I either really like something or it won't be for me, you know. I'm quite black and white like that, ironically. But, you know, brought me to tears. You know, there was poems in this that I thought, wow, that sounded like someone went into my mind and pulled it out for me, or gave me the exact message I need. It's a very nurturing deck. It's got like a very spirit guide way about it. You know, if you was to have a warm, quiet, feminine spirit guide who's always looking out for you, this is what this deck feels like to me. Genuinely. Like, I've never had this experience with a deck before. And I just can't, you know, stop using it. I mean, I think it's come to a point where I keep asking the same question. It's like, yo, girl, like, let's stop now. You need a breather, okay? And I'm telling you the same thing. I also have quite a unique way that I shuffle and get messages from this deck. I don't know if I'll show you, but I basically, like, I try to shuffle it, right? And then I find, rather than me kind of, because I feel like I'm going to really muller this card stock up, it's good, but I just feel like the way I've been using it, maybe I should buy a backup already. But I found that, like, it's sort of cards end up sticking out for me. It's like strange. Like sometimes, like, I'll go down, like, oh, now it doesn't want to work because it's shy and it's on camera. But just say, for instance, like, I'll have shuffled and then I'll put the deck like this, and then there'll be a specific card like sticking out, and that will be like, oh look, we got listen. You know, that will be my card. Ooh, the display's going everywhere. Okay, you're being shy now. You're being shy. You don't want to show it. Okay, maybe that's just, it's a personal thing between us, so we can't put it on display. But you know, I found that a really cool body. Look at that alignment. I think the only sad thing about this deck, really and truthfully, is that it doesn't come with a physical copy of the poetry book. And I honestly, I'm so close. I think I'm just gonna, like, print them all out. They're basically like on a website, and I think it's a shame, but I'm guessing, you know, the creators, maybe there is an issue with, like, with printing out the book. I don't know exactly, but I'm definitely I want the physical copy. I just think it will make it so much easier, like when I want to work with this and don't want to be on tech, you know, with technology around me and on my phone having to check what the poem is. I think it would just be better. I just think it suits it better. It deserves to have its poetry book published. That's how I feel. And I let the, you know, I sang praises to the creators on their Instagram page, and kind of said that to them, you know, if you ever sell this as a physical copy or anything else, I will be your first customer, because I really feel like it deserves that. You know, it's so profound. It deserves its art to be sort of printed out in physical form. I'd have to, who are the creators? I'd really have to give them their shout out. So Andrea Wan is the artist, and she collaborated with a poet, or I think actually a musician, called Megan King. Megan King, oh my goodness, I followed them both because I just thought, you know, during the pandemic, this is what you created. This is absolutely beautiful, and I can't sing its praises highly enough. I really need to do a separate video for this all on its own. Honestly, it is too good not to do that, and I really feel like I need to, like, shuffle this and actually read you one of the poems, or the one I found really profound. Let's have a look. Okay, so what we got here: chaos, shadow. These are a lot that kept coming up for me. Wound, connect. So let's have a look. There is one, there's what, honestly, all the poems have been so poignant for me, but in particular there was a few that kept coming out, and here was one actually. What else have we got here? Where is it? Courage came out a lot. That's a beautiful poem. I think it's a bit long to read. I think we've already gone past it. Where are you? We need our brave heart. Where is it? Our brave heart, which is missing. Oh, that's so funny. I'm looking for the freedom card and I can't find it. Interesting. Okay. So funny. I was looking for the freedom card and I thought it'd broken free then. Well, look, and it's telling us to listen. Okay, so that's confirmation. This is the poem that goes alongside freedom. Okay. It says, with too little freedom, we become caged birds. Our song is muted and we cannot expand our wings to become all that we are. Too much freedom and we are lost again, this time in flight and without any sight of ground. The equal wings of a bird fly when they are balanced between sky and earth. True freedom is a practice, a perspective and a commitment that does not really come for free. We earn it through our courage to let go of the thoughts and ideas that enslave us. We earn it by removing our shackles of perfection so we may move in the world as ourselves. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but I just found that very, very, very profound. Very moving. You know, that's the type of work you're dealing with. That's the type of poetry. Very introspective, very hard-hitting in my opinion. It matches the imagery here of this beautiful figure on the bird, you know. Makes you listen. You know, it's that kind of poetry you take in and you apply it to you know, whatever you're asking. I just think it's very healing and beautiful deck. I can't wait to work with it some more, and I really can't recommend it enough. So guys, if you can get your hands on it and you're really into like poetry and you just want a nice nurturing kind of special, it's a special deck, then definitely check out the Poesis Oracle. You won't be let down. I really don't think you'll be disappointed at all. So that's that one, my favorite. So next up, what do we have? We have a tarot deck, and this is MJ Cullinane's Guardian of the Night. And I had been eyeing this up for a hot minute, I have to say. And then I saw that basically she was stopping its sort of indie run because it's been picked up by Hay House, which is great news, you know. But I was like, oh no, that means I'm gonna have to wait ages for it. So I quickly ordered it. So I must have ordered probably one of the last indie copies. First and foremost, can we just look at the imagery here? It's such a interesting collage kind of artwork, and I love the sort of, obviously the wildlife element, that's what it's about, but also in conjunction a lot with sort of, you know, there's different geography and different landscapes here. You know, there's kind of the combination of the city landscape and animals when it's trying to show you, you know, kind of the conflict in life, and I like that. The Hierophant, the mouse, Seven of Swords, the panther, you know. It's just really beautiful, and I've had some profound read of it already. You know, for some, I think people think some of her decks are a bit busy. Like, I think she's, you know, the Crow Tarots which she created, and there's the Four Haxa one that I, you know, I can't wait to get. And thank you, Brittany, you know who you are. I will list her channel below, really great channel, for doing a deep dive into that and convincing me to buy it. It's on its way, but it's not here yet. But I digress. Back to the Guardian of the Night. MJ is like, she has a really good understanding of the tarot, and she's just a phenomenal artist. I find this artwork so beautiful. Like the backs I like, the cardstock I like. It's kind of semi kind of matte. It's hard to explain. Now, even though I have small hands and these are quite big cards, like I don't find it too hard to use. And I just think it's stunning, you know, when it's stunning. And the book, oh my god, the book is great. The meanings are fantastic. How she kind of tells you why she picked these certain things, but also like what those meanings of the cards, or the depth she's kind of put in, add into those meanings of the cards. I love it. I love it. Honestly, if you can get your hands on this still somehow, or, you know, you're willing to wait for the Hay House to release it, I would definitely, you know, mass market is probably going to be cheaper as well, so that's great. I hope they kind of keep the same kind of, they don't change it too much. Hay House are quite good, so I don't think they will. But yeah, no, it's great. I love it. It's not really too much more to say about that. I just really look forward to using it more within this year. Really getting to know the cards better, dive into her meanings and her reasonings behind what she picked. It's definitely up there as probably one of the kind of most aesthetically pleasing decks I have. I can't wait for our next offering as well. Like I said, the Four Haxa one. Look at this on the moon. I like that. With the two pillars being like tower blocks, you know, for flats, and the wolves, you know, it's just a jackal. There's just so much going on. And that's what makes it quite good for when you have the time to do a more contemplative read, I should say. Easy enough like to do like a one card pull, like quick one with this, I feel. But I think when you really want to, like, you know, dive deep, this one's good if you have the time to really look into the card and kind of see what the imagery is giving you, you know. So yeah, that is the Guardian of the Night Tarot by MJ Cullinane. Definitely get your hands on it if you can. It's a stunning, beautiful deck. And our last offering is another tarot deck that I actually bought myself as like a Christmas present. How do I open it? That is the Botan Tarot. I've shown this. Where is it? I don't know how to open it. Okay, it's sliding out. Okay, I thought it was a magnetic box for some reason. That goes to show you that I haven't used it much yet. Honestly, one of the most beautifulest decks I own, linen finished, beautiful watercolors, beautiful step into kind of Japanese folklore, etc., and kind of the own artist's kind of life experience in some of the cards. I just need to buy the zine so I can understand it better, to be honest, and then I'll definitely want to work with it some more. Right now, as you can see, it's still in order. I just had to have it. It's so aesthetically beautiful, and when I saw like the zine on Casper the Boy Diviner's channel and him saying, you know, it really does help you to understand where the artist was coming from and the meanings of some of the cards, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. I have to have it. Even if it is just for the aesthetics. No, I hope to make it workable, in all honesty. I really do. It's too beautiful. I don't want to say it's too beautiful to use, too beautiful not to use. You know, I do want to try and get what I can out of this. I'm trying to wonder what kind of reads it would be good for. I guess once I become more familiar, like with the stories and the fables within this, then that will kind of be more helpful. So I can't really decide right now, I have to be honest with you. But I am happy that I have it. They're the backs, stunning. It will look so beautiful up on my card stand on my altar as well, if I start using it for personal reads throughout the week, like things on display to remind me. I do like this. I think this is quite a poignant card, even though it's simple and it's like a pippish card. The Nine of Swords with the feather. You know, is it real? Are they as harmful as they seem? These swords, if they're just thoughts, you can change that. You can turn it around. I like that. It's definitely profound in that way. I want to know who these figures are and their stories more, so I can kind of be connected to this deck. I'm sure they're like all connected in some way. So yeah, that's the Botan Tarot. I won't go on too much other than that, because like I said, I still need to dive deep in it, but I felt I would showcase it. I think it is a beautiful deck. I feel like it will marry well with some other kind of oracle decks and stuff. This would probably go quite well with my Floral Healing deck also. It does have quite a healing vibe with this watercolour, quite a kind of fresh and gentle kind of deck, so maybe it can be used for that kind of work, you know, when I need that kind of gentle energy. Again, a lot of feminine energy within this also, sort of nature elements and the dreamy kind of colour palette. So yeah, I look forward to working with it, and I'll let you know how I get on. So that's the Botan Tarot, the last of our decks. So next up we have a couple of miscellaneous items, namely books. I am someone that collects folklore, collects fables, and has a particular kind of interest in creation myths, and so I kind of put a few books down on my list, and my parents got me this one. I just thought, look at the imagery first and foremost, you know, the artwork on this is stunning. I just find it so interesting to see how different cultures and parts of the world, you know, have over time learned to explain how we all came to be here. I find that such a beautiful thing that connects us, that kind of asking those kind of questions of why are we here, how did we get here. And it's fascinating the kind of creations that the human mind has come up with. So it's a beautiful book. I don't know if I'm really going to be able to showcase it properly, but yeah, so I think it's probably a children's book, but either way, I don't care. I collect children's books also, especially if they have beautiful artwork. I feel like there's a lot of honesty and truth within children's stories and short stories and fables. You know, they're just more sincere, more authentic, and they're hard-hitting, really, because there's a lot of truth in simple stories, and I like that this covers a lot of different cultures. Got into the Aztec world, from, you know, First Nations people of America. There's so many, so it's been a really nice book to kind of just, you know, when I'm trying to relax at night and I just want to dive into something, you know, a quick little story. Really sweet. And I would definitely, if you have children, I would recommend it. You know, the stories, you know, they're quite short. They're not like, you know, the most elaborate kind of tellings of these stories, you know. Kind of, it's quite simple, but they're a good starting point, and I just feel like the illustrations are so beautiful as well. So if you yourself are interested, or you have children that are interested in this sort of storytelling, etc., I would definitely give it a go. Definitely kind of opens your mind. It's just fascinating to see the kind of differences and the similarities between human beings, even though they live, you know, kind of millennia apart, and also kind of geographically very far apart, and yet there's some similarities. So that's really interesting. I like to kind of note that down too, and it just helps me with my own explorations of purpose, really, and why we're here and things of that nature. So yeah, it's a great read. Give it a go. Creation Myths. I'm not sure who's that by Gilly Cameron Cooper. So that's my first book there. And on the same thread of that, my mum also got me this as well. So this is a treasury of folklore from woodlands and forests. Quite fitting for this channel, right? Wild gods, wild trees and werewolves. I'm yet to kind of dive into this book. As you can see, it's very, very new, but it's so interesting. You know, the forests is the landscape I have probably outside of the coast and the sea the most affinity with in this life. Been told I was a druid in a past life. Maybe that has some sort of a kind of part to play in it. But also I have very strong Celtic roots, you know, predominantly Irish heritage. So, you know, we love our stories about the little people and the trees, you know. You know, if you ever have Irish family, Irish ancestors, grandparents, etc., they are some of the best storytellers you will ever come across in your life, especially when they're in the pub. So I grew up with kind of stories kind of to do with that sort of, you know, sort of the fae, I guess, and, you know, the woodlands and things of that nature. So I just find it really, really interesting. It's quite magical. It's something I've wanted to go back to. It's connected to that inner child, you know, where we've been a lot stuck indoors, and even, you know, before this COVID, like with certain health things with myself, you know, getting quite isolated and disconnected from nature, not really getting out much, and wanting to reconnect with that. And I just feel like having a book as well that can make that a bit more magical for me. You know, I go out and I get to see, you know, what are yew trees? What is their kind of significance to us? You know, that sort of bring that whimsical and that magic back to life that sometimes kind of goes missing as we get older. You know, where you could roam around kind of the forests and woodlands and, you know, come up with all these magical, fantastic stories and be so connected to the earth. We get disconnected from that, especially if we live in big cities, as I do. I live in one of the biggest cities in the world. I live in London, you know. It is a concrete jungle. Luckily, we do have, you know, a fair amount of green spaces, but nowhere near as, you know, much as what would have been once upon a time. So I feel like we all need that kind of fresh air. And I just thought this is such a beautiful, you know, it's a historical book, and also there's stories within it. I just, you know, I'm just learning new things, really. And it's just so beautifully bound as well. You know, so that's The Treasury of Folklore, Woodlands and Forests by D.D. Cheney and Willow Winsham. What a great name! Great names in general. Got a little Red Riding Hood running off from the wolf there. So yeah, I think this is predominantly to do with European, I would just say. Oh god, yeah, even the Baba Yaga, so yeah, that's going into the Russian side of things. So yeah, I would say like the European, Eurasian kind of woodlands, this is going to be more about. I'd love to have a book to do with the Japanese woodlands. I feel like that's another culture I have an affinity with, because they have such a strong kind of connection to their forests as well. I think that's something that the Japanese and the kind of parts of Europe and Ireland, and obviously Scandinavians, they're very, I think when they did a post they said that the vast majority of the population believed in the, you know, the Fae and things of that nature, which is fascinating, even in like the kind of modern age that we're in now. So I think when you grow up around forests and stuff like that, there is something quite magical about it. Even though I've grown up in a city, you know, my dad in particular, my parents actually would take us a lot to like kind of Epping Forest, Hampstead Heath. If you're ever in London, definitely go there. It makes you feel like you're away from the city, but you're close enough to everything. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, it's just magical, really. You can start to believe that there are things there, and obviously, you know, there probably is. Who knows? I don't have the strongest connection with the Fae yet, to be honest. It's something I would like to explore, as it is quite a big part of my familial heritage in terms of culture, I would say. But yeah, if it's up your alley, this is something that interests you, it does seem like a really good read so far. You know, even though I haven't properly dived into it, I just feel like, you know, there's a lot to glean from this. So give it a go if you're into reading. Treasury of Folklore, Woodlands and Forests. Now to showcase a very like sweet and quite personal gift that I got for Christmas that's still tarot related, and that is a tarot stand. Like, I really wanted one to kind of display my cards, and especially when I was doing like a weekly pull, just to have that kind of visual reminder like up and in a kind of altar space. And I must have just mentioned it to my dad, and he made me this, and I should take my current cards out and the cards stay on it like that. And I just thought it was so sweet. It's like that more kind of touching and special because, you know, this was made by my father's hands. You know, he cut it out, he carved a little butterfly, I filled it with like all my little tiny crystal chips, as you can see. Just give it that bit, you know, give it that the good vibes and the energy. And it's actually, like he said, they were like tea light candles holders, which is really cool, but I just feel a little bit tentative putting any fire near my cards. So that's my cards of the day this week. It's the Emperor, the Wheel, a lot of big major arcana vibes, live in the moment. Again, it's just nice just to have that kind of displayed. I feel like all the crystals are gonna fall out. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's just so sweet of him that he made that, gave it to me, he was all chuffed, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Now I have one, and it's been made by my dad, and I'll always have that from him. So yeah, it's like they're not a hard thing to make if you are a crafty person. Like, literally, if you've got a bit of wood, you know, just get yourself a slit, it might be worth it. It's nice to have something from your own hands, you know, or someone that you know that can that's good. My dad is a carpenter by nature, so yeah, by trade. So yeah, it's just, it really blew me away, and I thought it's so sweet. It's got like little, I can't tip it under, but it's got little brass pins on the bottom as well, so it's not going to scratch up any surfaces I put it on. So yeah, I was really chuffed with that. That's my tarot card and oracle card stand from me dad. And I thought, why not end on a shiny rock? I got a nice big slab of labradorite as well. It's from my mum. I just, look at this crystal. It just reminds me of like a dragon egg or something. When it hits the light and you can see the iridescence, it's just fascinating to me. You can understand why people believed like magical creatures came from things like this, right? Fascinating. So yeah, it's a stone I've wanted to work for a while. I think it's very good for clearing energy. I think labradorite, changing energy. I need to look into it a bit more. I just think it's beautiful. And, you know, crystals are something that I work with. It's been around me for a long time, you know. I've had females in my life from my childhood who are kind of into this stuff from early. So like aunties and mums and great aunties and things like that. So yeah, I do think there's something healing in it, even if it's just, you know, holding it sometimes really helps. If I'm having anxiety or I'm having night terror or something and I wake up and I have something solid to hold, I do find them helpful. I do feel that they have the kind of properties that they say they do, whether people want to say it's placebo or not. If it works, it works, you know what I mean? So yeah, labradorite. beautiful crystal. Definitely look into it, look into its meanings a bit more. I shall too, because I feel like I'm lacking in telling you what it is right now. But you know, for the aesthetics, look at that. If you're into dragons, there's got to be one for you for sure. It's like, oh my goodness, look at something so beautiful come in the form of a rock. He says diamonds are a girl's best friend. Labradorite is. So yeah, that was my last offering of miscellaneous goodies for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed that little haul and some of my insights. Maybe something caught your eye. Let me know if it has, or let me know if you have any kind of experience working with any of those decks and your thoughts on them, because I'm relatively new to each and every single one of them, so it'd be nice to see how others have worked with them and how they found them. If I really wanted to sing one's praises, it would be the Poesis Oracle. That was like astounding for me. Definitely felt like it was made for me. And if you are a poet, if you're a writer, if you just resonate with poetry in general, or just, you know, want a nice profound oracle deck, you know what, nice is not a good enough word, just like a beautiful and a profound oracle deck to kind of go along with, you know, any other deck you have, because I really find it to be very versatile and just works great on its own, to be quite honest. When you need to pick me up or you really need advice on something, definitely check it out. I don't know how easy they are to come by now. I managed to get that from the boutique as well. I actually thought it got lost in the post, so that was kind of great that it turned up. So yeah, definitely give it a go. So yeah guys, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed my show and tell, as it were. I was never a big fan of show and tell as a child, as I was stood up and humiliated in front of the class at a very young age. But you know, here's for changing the narrative and healing childhood wounds via the internet, and why not? I hope you enjoyed. If you did, it would be really great if you get a thumbs up, you know, subscribe to the channel if it's something you're interested in, drop us a comment, you know, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.